And we're back, and you are listening to Villain Cast BJJ Antiheroes with myself, Chris the Villain Pains, and Nake our Jefe our Shed. And welcome to Reap the Week. Firstly, a thank you to our sponsors, the lovely patrons on Patreon. Thank you for believing in this work, and if you'd like to learn more about supporting this channel along with receiving exclusive content such as technique breakdowns along with personal coaching, you can find out more via chrispainsbjj.com. It's been a couple of weeks since we did this. What's up, Nak?
How's it going, man? You good?
Dude, it feels like forever.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. It's been too long, man.
Well, no, it's been ages since we did this, but also it's been ages. Feels like ages since we were in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it just feels so long ago.
So just so everyone's aware of what's been happening then. So, when was it we went to Amsterdam? Like the 26th, 27th of May or something?
I think that's when we came out. 22nd till the 26th, something like that it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it was. So, around about the 22nd. So, yeah, we went out to, Naki and I went out to Amsterdam to the Whoopass camp run by Raoul. He used to run the 10th Planet camps annually in Amsterdam, and now he's moved over to these Whoopass camps. And the general idea of the Whoopass camp is people who have whooped his ass in the past, he gets them in to do like a week-long or weekend-long camp. And yeah, he always manages to land some decent names alongside people like me. It was I didn't manage to stay the entire time. Did you roll Shazinski?
He wasn't rolling much. He did have one, like half a roll with Raoul, but he wasn't rolling much because obviously he had his Polaris Championship fight, didn't he?
Yeah, of course. I imagine he didn't want to get injured, like literally before the fight. That'd be a bit dumb, wouldn't it? Yeah,
which was a good victory for him in the end as well.
Yeah, I saw the submission earlier, and I don't know what the fuck he did. He just blew his fucking foot apart.
Yeah, he's a wizard.
Was it like watching him rolling against Raoul?
It was just two snipers going at each other, but he just beat him to. When they usually have this saying in boxing where you beat someone to the punch, he just kept beating Raoul to the punch every time, and it was like, damn, man, because he's just so smooth the way he moves and everything. And people just think he's he's known for the shotgun and stuff, the shotgun grip and his ankle locks. But he's got a really good attack, upper body and lower body attack game where he mixes up quite well. Yeah, and his leg lock entries are smooth.
Well, that's the thing. So I rolled with Raoul as well at the camp, and I did for anyone who's on Patreon, blue belt and up. There is not blue belt rank, but as in membership. There is a breakdown of a roll I had with Raoul on there. So I very much respect Raoul's leg locks. And so I don't go in with any open knees whatsoever, because he's very slick with his entries off the bottom, and he's very good at latching on. So there was no way I was going to give him any opportunity for my leg. So to imagine that those two were just sniping each other must be insane.
Yeah, it was a good roll.
It was a good camp. Like I said, there was a good couple of black belts there. Tom Mehnam from Preet's Gym in Estonia. I watched you two have a war with each other.
Yeah, we had a good roll. We had a good for a few rolls actually over the few days we were there.
Yeah,
I think me and Tom got on quite well, and we rolled on the last camps as well. We got a good relationship where we cancel each other's styles out a little bit, so we try to help each other as much as we can. I think we got a good relationship in that way.
Yeah. No, it was a clean roll. As I don't like necessarily talking too much about rolls, because it's never competition and it's weird otherwise. But yeah, so we did a class together, talking about. We did 4 hours, didn't we? Overall, I was amazed that we made it flow as well as we did, and talking about this whole idea of standing up, which has been like the big thing recently. It was actually interesting. So I've obviously, since we did the camp then, you came home and were ill by the sounds of things, pretty ill.
Yeah.
And I had 2 days, and I flew out to Maine, to Oakland, it's about an hour north of Portland in Maine, northeast USA. I was at the Globetrotters camp, and I've been doing these things now for 10 years, and this was the craziest camp because they had, I think it was 40 black belts there.
Yeah, but I want to hear about all these WWE wrestling things, whatever you guys were doing.
Dude, so I think there was more black belts at this camp than white belts.
Wow.
I know. I think I think between black belts and brown belts, there were more black belts and brown belts than blue belts and white belts.
Wow.
And I think there was about 150 odd people at the camp, and 40 of them were black belts. So it was absolutely nuts, like the level of people to roll with on a daily basis. It was interesting talking to. I rode with one guy, very cool guy named Chris. Very, very tough roll, jacked. He's a black belt out of Texas, Austin. And he was like he trained pre Danaher B Team Invasion, and like rolling with him, it was interesting, like hearing his feedback, because he trains with those guys, and his game is based off, there's large portions of his game based off what he's learned of like Tonen and etc. Yeah. I think he said his claim to fame was him getting smoked in the gi by Gordon Ryan.
Okay.
In a sparring video. But rolling with him, like it was really interesting, because the feedback he gave me afterwards was having to deal with the defensive postures, and anytime like he took the gas off, I just got up. He was like, "This is exhausting having to deal with." And I was like, "That's nice to hear." I mean, we had a really, like, we rolled a while, and it was pretty even, to be fair. Like, we had a really good game with each other. And so I highly recommend, well, I forgot his surname, but he's definitely a cool guy. So anyone down in Austin, like, if you know Chris from that area, Tom Moore, something, like, definitely check him out. But yeah, so the week at the Globetrotters, it started off, I haven't spoken to you, have I?
Nope.
So, because it's a summer camp for kids kind of place, and it's like the first booking of the year is usually Globetrotters. So the first thing we do is pretty much clean the spiders out of the place. I didn't realize, I don't know how true this is, but I heard it whilst at the camp, but to send your kid there for like 3 weeks is like $8,500.
What?
Dude. Amazing. I don't know how American culture works and sending kids to these things. But dude, it was like, so we were staying in cabins, and for the majority of the time there, it was, it's summer camp. It's, the cabins aren't heated. And it was fine. And we had blanket, like a fleece blanket. But then the last 2 days, the temperature just dropped to a few degrees above freezing.
Wow.
And yeah, we couldn't sleep properly those nights. It was just too cold overnight. I think the last night was like the coldest night, and there were people leaving throughout the night to go home. And at some points I was looking across the empty beds thinking, I'm going to take their blankets. Like, is it weird to sleep in another man's hair and warmth? Like, at that point I was starting to lose hope and like thinking, yeah, I'm actually going to do that. So because it's at this self-contained camp in the middle of fucking nowhere, they did like a pub crawl kind of thing, and it was like the camp staff, the Globetrotter staff, and the late night cabin staff members all put on like a party, and like people could vote for who's the best party. And Christian Graugart, Mr. Globetrotter himself, decided to import a wrestling ring, like a boxing ring kind of thing, into one of the barn setups, and host a wrestling night, and contacted a bunch of us, myself included, and said, will you wrestle on this card? Be as outlandish and weird as you want. And so we had one guy pretend to be Preet, and he dressed up as a turtle and got, just lay on the floor and got...
I saw that little clip. I thought it was actually Preet in that turtle.
No, that's what makes it funny. It wasn't even Preet, and he's even on the poster for it. And then you had... so the one I did was obviously I'm in a room full of Americans, and I thought I'm going to be Lord Chrissington Payne's rightful British heir of these bastard colonial United States. And I walk out into this ring, and I've got a cape on, weirdly, and I pretend to hit Christian, steal his mic. He's a ring announcer, and I'm like, the final words of my half-removed grandmother, the Queen, were to go back to the United States and show them the error of their ways, and that they truly wanted to be under British rule. The amount of booing, like walking out.
I'm surprised you haven't gone viral, Chris.
Dude, I'll tell you something else that went viral. Put a pin in that one. So I'm getting booed relentlessly, and the guy I was supposed to fight is a friend of mine who I see at the camps, Kyle. He dressed up as like a mixture of Captain America and Anonymous, and he was like going to come out the crowd as like their champion. And we did a bit of like messing around in the ring prior to all this to see what we could do.
Oh, just like actual wrestlers do.
yeah. So I like had a bit like I realized I was a bit stronger than he was, so I could like throw him around quite well. But he gets in the ring, and he's got like a computer keyboard, like a wireless computer keyboard, and he smashes me with it, and like computer keys just go flying everywhere. And I start like freaking out. I'm picking him up, screaming at the crowd, "Is this your champion?" And I'm throwing him like around the fucking.
I saw that clip.
Dude, it still makes me laugh because like I pick him up and I just throw him the fuck away, and I'm not even looking at him. And he's like got this expressionless look on his mask as his body goes flying, and then eventually like he clotheslines me, and I'm like super theatrical. I go flying in the air, and then he people's elbows me and pins me to the screams of USA. And what makes it funnier is like weed is legal in Maine, right?
Okay.
So we stopped off at a dispensary on the way to the camp. I am high as shit throughout this entire thing. Like I've had edibles, and I forgot that the party was on this night. Like I thought, day one, I've done a bit of rolling. It'd be nice to relax. And then Christian's like, "Yo, you still good for meeting up and doing the camp party?" I was like, I thought it was the last night. So I've had way too many edibles at this point, and now I'm getting into a wrestling ring in front of a lot of drunk Americans, screaming I'm their rightful heir, and getting hit by a guy who's dressed up as a mixture of Captain America and Anonymous, smacking me with a keyboard. And that's how the week started. Like
wow.
it only went downhill. Yeah, it was kind of funny as well in that at one point in the camp, like because on the last night there was like a dodgeball game we were playing.
Yeah.
Of like USA versus the world, and I was on. Christian comes to me and goes, we'd be on Team Europe. I was like, yeah, sure. I wasn't, I'm fine with that. And he says, yeah, we can't, you met Irene. She was there as well. He's like, yeah, we can't take Irene because she's already had some drugs and she's not available. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, I had edibles like an hour ago. Like, they haven't kicked in yet, but they very much will by the time we get on. So I'm like, yeah, sure, we're good. And I remember, like, we're doing like standing to Pledge of Allegiance or whatever to the national anthem, but he's like chosen Dancing Queen by ABBA as the anthem for Europe, and I just remember standing there just gripping onto this European Union flag, like tripping balls, listening to Dancing Queen, like saluting at the time. And I sent that picture. I was like, yeah, I don't look well. Yeah. So yeah, it was bookended, bookended by weird moments, shall we say?
So what's this other thing that went viral then?
Oh, dude. So the previous camp that I went to in Austria in winter,
yeah.
Again, Christian thought it'd be funny to do an April Fool's prank where he promoted us all this Globetrotter black belts to rainbow belt. And he said, don't mention it until I'm going to release an article on April 1st, on April Fool's Day. And he releases the article, and like Reddit practically exploded. Like some people realized it was a joke, but like we had proper photos done, and I'm like, I think it's my gi and my belt and like my face are like the main, like he's promoting. and like it died down since April. But apparently, news travels slower when you go south of the equator because Brazil picked it up the other day and lost their fucking minds.
Oh shit!
And like I've been getting even messages of people who aren't globetrotters, like friends in the jiu-jitsu community, and they're like messaging me like, "Yo, dude, like there's this dude here screaming in Portuguese and he doesn't seem happy with you." I'm like, I'm like, oh shit! Like my career, like I guess I'm not going south of the border anymore.
Oh shit! Now you're cut off from that part of the world now, Chris.
Dude, and I'm like, I get it. It's kind of funny. But if it's not on April Fool's Day, I guess you'd lose that part of the joke.
Yeah.
Unless you check the date of the article.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I'll have to send you, like, Christian, like, messaged me, like, as well, saying, look, this dude doesn't seem happy with you. And it's like pictures of me on there. I'm like, it's like just screaming in Portuguese. So I'm like, oh no. So it's just been one of those weeks, unfortunately. And you think we started off in Amsterdam, like, and I imagine it got weirder since Amsterdam. I'm kind of glad to be back home and back at our club as of today, whatever it is.
Yeah.
With a bit of more normal behaviour.
Normality, yeah. Normality is what we're looking for.
Oh, I think I might have to wait for this little cloud to blow over. And to anyone in the off chance that in Brazil who listens to this, it is a joke. Although I may start wearing my rainbow belt. Like, so if I turn up to class later with a gi on and a rainbow belt, you know why?
Somebody's going to end up shanking you.
It's setting fire to the rainforest right now.
Who's this Chris Spence from Stafford, England?
You see the pictures of me are like standing there so proud with my rainbow belt on.
They're going to turn you into a meme now, Chris.
Again? That happened like previously. So like, someone sent me a couple of years ago. So there used to be, well, there is. It's gone a lot quieter these days. With Globetrotters, they kind of adopt like wayward, orphaned clubs, as it were.
Yeah,
it's how obviously I got all my belts, and what happens is at camps, you can if you haven't got a coach, if you're kind of orphaned in that way, you can ask Globetrotters to grade you, as it were, but it has to be unanimous across all the black belts there. And when you've got 20 different instructors, they all roll with you that week, and they'll talk to you and get to know you, and they all have to vote unanimously to promote you. And if one person disagrees, and these are like all from different lineages, etc., and all have different standards, if one person disagrees, no, belt doesn't happen. But it got to the point where like people were trying to like sweet Christian a little bit. And it's like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want you to come just be my friend and buy me dinner just because you want me to like give a good word for your promotion. So he kind of left it to me because I'm an unlikable person. No one's going to buy me dinner. And so there was one guy who he obviously deserved it, and one of the other camp coaches was a jiu-jitsu brown belt. I was like, he wasn't there because of COVID. He was like, could you promote my student if you all agree? I was like, yeah, I'll do the honors. And we thought it'd just be funny to wrap loads and loads of stripes around his belt. So all the different black belts are coming up saying like, we think you're really good. Here's another stripe. It looked like a goddamn zebra by the end of it. And that picture went viral. It's like when you're the bestest student, and it's just a picture of his belt with like 20 stripes on it. He looked so disheartened at the time. It was like, you're all dicks.
20 stripes is still not good enough to be a black belt.
I think he was going from blue belt to purple belt, and he's there just like, you're all assholes. It was really good. Like, it was easily a purple belt. It just, we were dicking with him. So, it's just it's going to be a weird couple of weeks, I imagine, until this calms down. The other thing that's obviously since we last spoke on here, we've had a couple of guests, so I had to make do without you, as it were, because we've been in different time zones most of the time and away from all this gear to record with. I did one with Greg Sodas. Have you listened to it?
No, not yet. That's on my list. I have to listen to that. I have to.
Dude, I felt like a monkey compared to that man.
That's why I have to listen to it.
I'm like, it's pretty late at night as well because of the time difference. I think we started recording about 1 a.m. for me. And I am so tired at this point. And listening to, I'm just staring at the screen, like watching the microphone move on the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I'm so stupid. Like, I feel like a fraud compared to this guy. Yeah, man's a genius, man. And stuff like he was saying at the time, like, is kind of stuck with me. Yeah, it's already changed how I roll. Like, so if anyone hasn't listened to that yet, and our numbers exploded from that one. So if anyone hasn't listened to that, oh my God, I don't know how you haven't. Please go listen to it. If this is your first episode you've ever heard of, rewind a bit, go find the one with Greg. And Rob as well, Rob Cole. I saw him in Maine last week. He was the last. He was good. Like, he was really good. Obviously we saw him last year, didn't we? No, man, thing is, like, he's had such a long career as well in jiu-jitsu. Like, he started at Shamrocks.
Yeah, mad story.
In the 90s. And yeah, he's been all over the place. So it was really cool as well to like hear how his teaching has developed and changed over the years from all the different coaches he's been under and like what he's taken. Like, he's really kind of distilled it down, like the efficiency of it. But yeah, both podcasts, like, wow. I'm hopeful for a few more guests in the next few weeks, so there'll be lots of really cool episodes coming out. It feels like stuff's started to take off a little bit, which is cool. Anyone who's listened to this, if you've got any ideas of people you'd like to hear on here, drop them my way, and I'll get in contact. And I'm always interested in speaking to people who've got unique views on jiu-jitsu and different ways of coaching. It was also like, I taught these couple of classes at the camps, and again, I just did the stand-up stuff, and I got good reviews, like people saying it's different how we approach things. I'm really excited to see, like, obviously I'm seeing you tomorrow at class, and I'm really excited to like go through this kind of new stuff from Sodas with you. Like, the big one. Again, I'm probably misinterpreting it completely because I just don't think I'm smart enough. And he talked about control being, I'm going to have to make sure I murder this completely, not being like necessarily the physical act, like, of just like obvious like control, but it being either via time, space, or material. That alone has been bonkers. So essentially, what I've kind of interpreted it as is the difference between space and material being like, me having physical control over you, like taking something from you, like your arm or whatever.
Yeah.
And space being the amount of room I allow you to operate in. And that's been a really interesting thing as well, because it actually kind of goes into what we've been doing recently with some of Charles's stuff and the pre-defensive postures. In that the pre-defensive, some of the criticisms, or like, not criticisms, but questions I've had regarding like Running Man and stuff like that are, I'm going to these places, but I'm still kind of getting crushed.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in that you're denying material control. Absolutely. Like, you can't get grips on me when I'm in these defensive postures, but it's still allowing the other person spatial control because they're limiting the amount of room I can operate in.
Yeah.
I was like, that is really interesting. But then the same thing was happening with this like elbow frame, courtesy of Charles. And, you can find that on BJJ Fanatics. Anyone who's listening, Charles and I did a joint DVD of Naki, by the way, Unstoppable Stand-Ups. So since Charles came to our gym and was doing like this swim away that we've been doing since, like moving away from someone using the frame, that makes sense in that I'm still like, you can deny someone's material control absolutely with the defensive postures and the elbow frame, but if they're still moving on you, they're denying you spatial control. They're like taking the space away, and swimming away and creating space for yourself is like a big part of the defense, as it were. And so that all kind of suddenly like clicked for me. Like, yeah, you have to not just take your arms out of the mouth of the alligator, but you've also got to create space between you and the alligator, which then kind of goes back into this whole idea of being on top. You are the person that controls space if you're on top. Like, yeah, you can get caught in material control. People can get you in guard, but you're the person who controls space. And I was like, that gives you then, like, if someone goes into Running Man, okay, I don't have your body, but I'm still dictating where you can go.
Yes.
And so just keeping that idea in mind of like, right, I'm either taking material or spatial control of you, has really changed like the intensity that I have on the roll. Like, I don't allow, if I can't get one, I go for the other. And my understanding of time maybe is probably my weakest point. And that's why I think, right, that's like dictating the pace of the fight. Like, if you can dictate the speed, as it were, you are the person in control of another form of control, which again really lends itself to being on top, and having your legs underneath you, as it were. And yeah, that's been a big way of interpreting the defensive postures, but also attacking. Like, defensively, I want to create space, but also remove material control from the other person. And whilst I'm attacking, I want to take either or both, spatial and material control. And the other one, again, so cool talking to this guy. He was on about Kazushi, and fuck Dan Her for using it as a not fuck Dan Her, actually. It was actually clever, because the way he used it is like, he doesn't say balance. And like, people can look at it as a semi-pretentious thing. But he made a really good point, as again, I'm probably murdering this interpretation. Balance not just being like, you push someone over, they fall over, they put their legs out or arms out or something. Balance. Yeah. But as in your physiological integrity, as in, like, if you manipulate someone's arm like a Kimura-esque grip and take it out of its alignment, you're affecting that person's like holistic balance. Like, they can't do anything until they address that problem.
Yeah.
And so I liked that as well, as in always interrupting their balance, either the obvious balance or like their physiological integrity. They're putting their neck out of alignment, their joints out of alignment. I was like, damn, that's pretty clever as well. I like that. And it actually made the elbow frame work better. And, because he did say, when you're moving away, they're moving with you. So when you stop, nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
But if you affect their balance as you're moving, you'll always get out. So we started doing it whilst you were away, and I was here in the UK before I went away again. We started just interrupting people's balance before getting up, like kicking their knee out or something.
Yeah. Or
like sweeping the leg like mildly before we stand up, and that again it made it just work better. And so I like that idea of just putting it in jiu-jitsu in general, like just finding ways of like shoehorning it in.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Already seems like a good idea.
Exactly, dude. Like, I'm so excited to be back at class, and there's so much stuff to work on. Again, it's another like technique. Like, oh, here's a triangle. It's always just that broad idea, right? Okay, we're trying to maintain. Essentially, the drills are going to be maintain person on top, maintain material and spatial control, deny material control to the person on the bottom. Well, free yourself of material and spatial control. And that lends itself into everything we've kind of been working on, really. And again, it was interesting rolling with other people at the camp, especially like blue belts and white belts. And it kind of reinforced that idea again of not necessarily doing submissions early on. Like reframing, I guess for everyone, what
fundamentals and foundation controls and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Dominance. Like if you we said it before, is if your main goal is submission, you'll throw away good position for bad submissions.
Yeah.
But if your training and your sparring revolves around the idea of, no, I'm going to maintain dominance over you, you're never really going to lose. I mean, you may get caught off like shit from the bottom, but if you keep the idea of like of denying material control from the other person, they can't get anything over you anyway. Like you just got good postural tightness, like denying, it's essentially upright grilled chicken, upright running man. Denying the back of your knee, denying your armpit space, and denying the back of your head.
Yeah.
I think if you just keep doing that, and that's like, exact kind of mindset I had, rolling with Raul, is that I wasn't going to allow him material control over any part of my body whilst he was in his guard, because I'm going to get murdered. And if I couldn't take material control away from him, I was taking spatial. I was just crowding him. And that's all I had conscious thoughts over. Like nothing kind of else in my head about what to do with jiu-jitsu, just create that idea incessantly. I think it'd be interesting. Like I'll bring the camera tomorrow and we'll record this idea, see how it goes. So anyone on Patreon, that video will be on there and be good to we'll do a breakdown of it. It was like I felt stupid hearing those ideas and thinking 14 years, man. 14 years and I'm still have no idea what the fuck I'm doing half the time.
Yeah. It's a crazy sport, man.
What it was also be interesting to talk about. So this weekend we've got a local competition. There's how many of our students? Like 18?
I was just gonna say we've got a competition we're preparing for with our guys. There's about across both our teams in Stoke and Stafford, I think we've got about 20 plus guys.
That's gonna be nuts. So what have you been going through for like competition prep in this last week?
We've been doing a lot of situational sparring from all different positions because I wanted the guys to get comfortable with being in some positions which they don't usually get in roles. And then we've had a lot of situational targeted roles, so making sure the control and stuff. Like when you were just saying all that stuff, I was like, this is literally what we've been doing. Top guy, got control, dominance. Don't hunt the submission. I want top slow pressure. Bottom guy, I want that urgency to get up, create space, stand up, and off balance. But obviously, the way you've explained it now, it kind of makes sense to me because I'm going to play with it as well.
Exactly, like it's nice having it consciously there and going.
Little off balance, a little kick. It makes sense to me because I think that was missing because we were just backing away in different directions, which is okay. But then, if the top guy is still heavy on you, like you're saying that they're taking that space away, even though they haven't got material control. You know what I mean? So it makes sense when you explain it like that.
Yeah, and it was one thing, like, especially because tomorrow's kind of like the main class for like finalising competition prep.
Yeah.
Just again reiterating those ideas, like and doing the drills to capitalise on that and reinforce that. Also want to go through some of the mental stuff for comp prep tomorrow, with regards to visualization and actually what that means. Again, we went through it before your last super fight, didn't we?
Yeah.
About sitting down and like writing down what you wanted to accomplish in the fight, like almost like looking at what some people have said in the past in regards to competition mindset, is a lot of the anxiety I think comes from trying to control the unknown, and it's weird as well because you can kind of see it happening again with some of the guys being worried about their weight. And I'm like, in the gym, you will happily fight someone 20, 30 pounds heavier than you. Different belts entirely, like 2 or 3 ranks higher.
Yeah.
And you will come out fighting like a scrappy animal, yet you're worrying about someone who's your weight and your rank in a competition. And I think it is trying to control variables, as in you're trying to take so many things under your control that you think, right, if I can control this, that I am the same weight as these people, maybe I've got a better shot. And that's what the anxiety can come from. Instead of just going, fuck it, I weigh this much, I better go into this category then. As long as you're like not on the border where, you know, if you're kind of at the heavier end, you might have a big sandwich and fuck yourself up and miss weight. Again, I think it's trying to control those variables, and you know, reading from what some NFL coaches have said in the past, like take things back under your control. In that kind of like visualization, like what do you want to do in the fight? Don't think of it as in, oh, if he shoots, I'll sprawl. Think of it more as, I will do this to them. And I think we went through that in your previous super fight, didn't we? I was like, not looking at very specific things like, oh, if he goes for this guard, do this. If he goes for this, do this. It was more like, just keep in mind, keep your hand fighting, keep your keep upright, stay on top, keep control of their limbs, and
it was just basically the fundamentals, wasn't it? And if you get the floor,
exactly. Again, like, I don't understand then, if these are fundamentals and these are the most important parts of grappling that it takes easy to learn, long to master, what the fuck are advanced things? Do we need them?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. It's mad.
Again, like speaking to other people at the camp, like, oh, you've got this advanced class. I'm like, the fuck do you do in an advanced class? like you wouldn't, you know, just redo the fundamentals day in, day out. I think it's easy as well. I mean, you can probably relate to this a little bit because of running your own team in Stoke for a while. It's easy, especially as a junior coach or like a new coach or whatever, to get stuck in the habit of thinking you need to impress people. Like every session, like, oh, here's a new setup, or here's a new finish, or here's a new pass, or something. Always something new to try and prove your worth, as it were. Instead of just going, no, we're going to do the same shit we did last week and the week before. This is the most important part. I know it seems stupid, but it's for a greater cause, as it were. And that feels like weird to do. Again, reminds me of like good boxing coaches, as it were, like ones who just call in and call out those same combinations day in, day out. They'll fix some of the details that you may be getting wrong, but it's the same combinations.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here's a new punch or here's a new combination I've figured out. Here's a 1-2. Yeah. It seems a bit silly sometimes how we get stuck in this pattern in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's that whole dilemma, the whole teaching, the way we teach, but the way we compete, and then we're in the middle somewhere, and it's like, come on, man, fix it.
I know. I think, but it's hard to sit down sometimes and properly think about why you do what you do. Yeah. Again, like it's funny that, you know, I don't drill. I haven't drilled in a long time. And so it'd feel weird then to then enforce drilling on someone else if like I haven't seen the need for it in ages. You know, that's not how I have improved. So why must I do it to you? Strange.
Oh well, it's okay. We're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be good to, again, we'll try and get a lot of footage from this weekend, and we'll obviously do some breakdowns of it. Could go horribly wrong. Could be the entirely wrong way of training, and it was a fucking waste. But also, it was something that Soda said. It might have said it on the recording. He might have said it in private to me, like before or after. But he said something about Danaher. He was like, you know, asking Danaher about, you know, teaching and stuff like that, and how he hits the points and conclusions he does. He basically said, just be humble enough to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to fuck up, as long as you then look at what you did, be humble enough to do it.
Yeah, and fix it.
Call out your mistakes. And speaking of him, again, Danaher, and we said this before we started recording, he just put on Instagram not long ago. Again, I'm sure he's watching us. I'm sure he is. I don't know. Again, it was. I guess I said it on the Mental Models podcast, which I'm sure he listens to. He saw I was on it and thought, I need to listen to this guy. But so I did the Mental Models podcast, and something that Naki and I have been talking about for ages, and I specifically talked about hand fighting on there. And oops, that was a mistake. Got the phone too close to the microphone. And he said, so this is again, this came out not long ago on Instagram. Mr. John Danaher. Control begins with grip. If you control an opponent's hands, wrists, or elbows, he will find it very difficult to grip whilst you have grips on him. If you can get that initial advantage, it helps steer the rest of your engagement in your favour. Make a serious study of your initial contact. Don't just grip for the sake of gripping. Grip with a purpose and a direction. Get control of their hands, wrists or elbows whilst denying them the same, and you'll always be off to a good start. Didn't we talk about the fucking pocket? And as soon as you enter the pocket, you should be hand fighting. You should be taking your grips and 2-on-1s, going wrist, elbow, hands, whatever, and that's where the fight is won and lost. Because if you get through the pocket, if you get your grips, that's the person who gets to then do the clinch and start their technique.
Nobody wants to listen to us, Chris, because we're nobodies.
Yes, he's right. And again, it was there's those issues that I remember when you fought Shane Curtis.
Yeah,
I sat with you after the fight and went, was it? No, it wasn't Shane. It was one before that, wasn't it? It was the tournament you were at.
British Open.
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah, in the gi.
Yeah, no, it might have been no gi as well. But I looked at you. I spoke to you afterwards. It might have been a different competition then. And I looked at you and I said, "Where was your hand fighting?" You're like, "Yeah, I forgot." I was like,
"You got British gi." Yeah,
it's the most important part. And then you used it on Shane and completely shut his game down. And then you used it on that other guy at the Role Models Invitational. And right,
yeah,
that was hopefully that previous recording has worked. I guess we'll find out momentarily if any of that was saved. Hopefully, anyone who's if this has worked and you're still listening, we had some sort of outage, and hopefully we've managed to stick these two recordings together to make it sound something resembling okay.
Yeah, hopefully we can sort something out. I think it should be fine.
Hopefully.
This is a good conversation, man.
I know.
Technology.
I know. Well, we'll glue it together. It should work. Anyway, so, okay. We were talking about grip fighting.
Yes, pockets.
Yes, pockets. We talked about controlling. As soon as you enter that pocket, you have to be hand fighting, and that was one of the big changes. That I remember you had a couple of super fights or tournaments, and I kind of looked at you and went, "How's your hand fighting?" And you came back in and improved that part, and it changed. You were fighting, and you broke a few people.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem was getting, because I used to do it in training all the time, but it was just transferring into the competition mindset. And obviously it took a few matches and stuff, but when I got it through, I was like, yeah, now it'll be fun.
I think that was the interesting part of it, was this we had to have that conversation again, the visualization, because it's not about talking about, go for the triangle or something. It's about, because that'll come. If you've done a form of jiu-jitsu, you don't have to be reminded of that. It's, again, getting back to those clear fundamentals, like, talking about the pocket, talking about when you engage upon that person and doing hand fighting, every opportunity, maintaining top, being top and denying spatial control, etc. You have to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
That's the part that has to be turned on.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Exactly, and it's Yeah, that's the I'd say the visualization part. And again, it's almost like, it's something that I used to write down in my notes before I'd compete. It's like, this is what I'm turning on in my game. Like, just focus on this, and everything else will kind of fall into place.
Yeah, I remember when you used to have some of your matches and I used to corner and you used to write your stuff down. I was like, interesting. But I didn't get it at that time.
Yeah, and it's I think that's one thing I want to go through, just making sure everyone's kind of up to snuff on that tomorrow, is making sure their visualization work and the relaxation work is kind of ready to go in and perform well at the weekend.
Yeah, hopefully, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I was saying to someone earlier on today, I was like, I'm really looking forward to this Saturday, man. Got some good debutantes as well.
It's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Which isn't too bad. Tournaments are usually long days. And it's only a small local competition, I guess, but it's especially for a whole new team to be kind of coming out. It's been a long year, shall we say? A whole new team to be coming out and trying something like this. It would be a good time for some feedback on the training direction we've gone in. Could all be wrong.
Could all go wrong. Who knows?
Who knows? I guess it's only one way to find out.
Yeah. You have to make sacrifices. Someone has to make sacrifices.
Yeah, exactly. What was I going to say? It was something again, like it was mentioned at the camp. This, talking about people, fighting to be on top, etc. I'd get questions off people who say, "Oh, what if you're a smaller person?" And still, I would say, why would you be on the bottom?
I don't. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, but then it's even more so important that you're not on the bottom.
Well, I think Soda said it quite well. Again, I don't know if it was on the actual podcast itself or something that was said in private afterwards. But it's a goddamn sport, and it's easy. I think it's been very easy in jiu-jitsu because we want to make money and support our gyms, etc. To kind of make it open and go, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu can work for everyone against everyone. It doesn't matter if you're wildly out of shape and smaller. You can definitely beat someone who's like jacked and in shape. Like, yeah, okay, technique does come into sport. Obviously, you could have a really fit, fast person is still going to lose against a professional footballer. But, against two people of roughly equal skill, the more athletic person is going to win. Against two people of roughly equal skill, the bigger, stronger person is probably going to win. And trying to sell that idea that, no, it doesn't work like that. It's just a test of skill. Like, sorry. Mm-hmm. Sport. Sometimes skill, does overcome physical disparities, but it'd be wrong for us to lie otherwise.
I agree.
And that's why competition is the way it is we're trying to take out a lot of the different variables such as weight and age and gender and experience, to just try and boil it down to skill only, which is fair. But then when you get back into the gym again, it's like you could have someone who's small fighting someone who's giant. It's like, I can't lie to you. And if someone says to me, how am I going to get up against someone who's big? Like, how are you going to do anything? Like, if anything, I don't want to be someone who's big. If someone outweighs me by over 100 pounds, and all I have is my guard to hope for the best, and if they pass my legs, I'm dead. How is that good advice?
Yeah.
Like, at least be on top, because then if you get thrown on your back, then you can play your guard. But you should still fight to try and get on top and stay on top and float. It's like, again, like some people say, how do you pin down someone who's like massive compared to you? Don't. Float on top of them. Why are you trying to pin them down? It's some sort of weird entitlement thing. I'm sure you've probably heard this as well in the past, of the old chestnut of, or what if you try to do a triangle against someone who's got giant shoulders and you've got small legs? Don't.
Yeah. Not everything is supposed to work on everyone. Is this human biology.
And when you break it down like that, it's like weird entitlement to it. Like, yeah, if it If someone's got giant ass shoulders, don't. Like, pick your right game plan here. I mean, I look at how we've rolled in the past because, you know, I've got pretty long legs and you've got relatively shorter arms, like quite stocky short arms. And you're very, very quick at moving them. So there's no way I'm going to try and get on top and try and armbar you because I'm just going to go flying off into the fucking abyss. But you do have strong chunk and tree trunk-like legs. Great for me to wrap around and leg lock. So again, choose the game plan. Now if I went for a triangle on you, it's a high chance because you've got nice broad shoulders. You just go throw my legs off. I'm not going to try and triangle you. Exactly. It's like choose the right game for the right job. Instead of thinking, nope, I am entitled to do whatever I want in this jiu-jitsu. No, you're not. You can learn everything, absolutely. And if you're drilling against someone who is the wrong body type for you, well, that's again maybe a problem with drilling. And it's trying to then go up to a coach and then say, "Oh, fix this problem." Like, again, feels weirdly entitled. Like we'd have a magic answer for those kind of things. I'm sorry, like you've chose the wrong person to drill with. You can't do it to that person because it's not the right body type to use that technique on. I don't know what you want to do. Like, I can't lie to you and go, well, this is how you do it against someone who's got a giant ass, and try and fudge the technique a little bit.
Yeah. Make something up on the fly.
That's what most of it is. Like, you can do it if you adjust this angle here and do this. Like, then they try it in sparring and just get battered. Like, oh, you drill it more. No, just don't do against that type of person. Yeah. And I can see then the frustration. You know, that it feels weird that, you know, I'm trying to empathize here because I'm 6'3" and 90 kilos. Trying to empathize with smaller people. But even I fought guys who are like 120 kilos and stuff, you know, a good 60 odd pounds bigger than me. And even I know, like, don't do that shit. Like, there was a guy who used to come to our gym years ago. He's got, his name was Zed, which I think is hilarious. He's only got one letter for his name. We know quite a few people like that. And he was like, what, 30 stone?
Yeah, something mad like that. Oof.
What's that in pounds? Like over 400 pounds or something, isn't it? It's something bonkers.
Crazy. Yeah.
And he was what 6'9"?
Yeah,
like,
big boy.
Dude was a tank. And okay, yeah, he could bench 180?
God knows, mate, but yeah,
200. He could bench 200. That was it. And you think there's no way I'm going to be able to like, oh, I can't triangle this giant. Don't know why you're down there in the first place. And sparring against him, there was no way I was going to let him get side control or anything. Why would I play on my back? Because I'm pretty sure if I went for guarding him, he'd snap my hips. Yeah. Just completely like crack my pelvis in half. Why would I play guard? I'm going to be on top of this gigantic human and hope for the best. And if I lose, it was actually quite funny. It was at the camp this past week. There was one guy I saw on the mats. Called him out because he was sparring, and he was a big boy. He was, I think he was about 315 pounds, and I'm like,
wow.
What about? I think I'm about 205 or something. So the guy outweighed me by over 100 pounds, and he's jacked as well. He's like strong as hell. And I look at him, I'm like, "You've wrestled before as well, ain't you?" He goes, "Yeah, I have, quite a while." I was like,
"Oh shit!"
And what belt are you? He goes, "Oh, brown belt." I was like, "Oh God." I've got a pretty good choke defense, but I thought he was just going to take my head clean off my shoulders, and just like pop it clean off. And I'm not looking at that thinking, "Oh, my technique sucks." I'm thinking, well, he's of a similar skill level. He's a brown belt. He's wrestled for God knows how long, and he outweighs me by 100 pounds. And I'm like, of course I'm going to get my head kicked in. Like, I felt silly, like, afterwards. Like, well, maybe I shouldn't have called that guy out. But he was decent shape and strong as hell. Like, I'm not gonna like sulk away afterwards. Going, like, I didn't have my triangles. Like, what the fuck? No, you just got smacked around by a giant. Like, of course you're gonna look fucking stupid.
Exactly. That's how it's supposed to go. It's science, man.
Exactly. And it was also, I mean, I remember when you started, because you've lost a lot of weight since you started jiu-jitsu, but you were like a big, strong guy. And I remember, because that was part of the thing as well, is that because you were the strongest guys in the gym, you could just go on top and just smash people. And so I had to like really up it on you quite a lot to kind of force you to develop a bottom game.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you always go try and fight to be on top because that's where you felt most comfortable. But I would purposely try and like smash you in to force you to play on the bottom in that between time whilst you lost your weight and maintained your strength, which is really upsetting. So yeah, I purposely would up, even though it was like I was purple belt or brown belt at the time, I'd purposely like up it on you just so you had to learn to play guard.
Yep, 100%.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's a brilliant side effect. I've got half decent guard in my opinion.
Yeah, but also like I didn't want to be underneath you. Like I still maintain that now. I'm like, there's no way I want, because I know once you've passed my guard, you're just going to smash me up, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. I'll fight tooth and nail if my back hits the floor to get back up again.
Yeah, it's all wrestling these days, man.
Exactly, and everyone keeps saying it, and everyone's saying, be on top, fight to be on top, etc., etc. And it's trying to beat that cult of the guard.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the biggest problem, is trying to like convince people like, no. I know it's our thing, guard and submissions, but it's a backup plan. It's you fucked up, and you've got one last thing you can do before it goes horrifically wrong, and now you're on the bottom. It makes all the sense in the world to not be there. Be the person on top.
My like simplest way of putting it to anyone is like, if punches were involved, would you want to be on the bottom? Answer me that question, yes or no.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I know like there's obviously tactics when it comes to jiu-jitsu competition and stuff, but especially at the lower levels, it makes more sense to be the person on top. You get points for being on top. You don't get points for being on your back. The only way you get points for being on your back is if you get on top. And in MMA, don't be the person on the bottom. You're going to get punched. In a self-defense situation, definitely don't want to be on the floor. You're going to get worse happen to you. And so gym jiu-jitsu seems to be the outlying art here, where it's like, oh, no, you can be on the floor. It's okay. You can use your legs to try and triangle giant people. Like, no, get the fuck up. Run away. If you can't run away, get on top and smack them. Don't be underneath them. It's a bad game plan. And it's going down the traditional weird self-defense route again, in like dim muck kind of thing, as in like when people do the death touch, and they're like, have you ever used a death touch? No, obviously, but if I ever had to use it, I could definitely use it. But you've never tried it.
If I see red.
Exactly. It'd be like almost like owning a gun and like, have you ever fired a gun? No. Do you know how to load it? No. Right. But if my home got invaded, I definitely know how to use it. Fantastic. You're dead. And it's the exact same with jiu-jitsu. Like, what's your entire jiu-jitsu game? Guard. Cool. And if you're in a self-defense situation, yeah, I wouldn't play guard. I'd get up and run away. Right. But they'd have to posture in your clothes guard and grab hold of your pants, and then you can maybe get up. Ain't gonna work like that, son. You're gonna get your head kicked in. It's a terrible. I remember like watching some like old jiu-jitsu videos, of people who would like in street fights, and they pull guard and like go for triangles and stuff, and you just see them get punched to death. I'm like, well, that's a terrible game plan. Don't do that.
I mean, there's always like obviously we're not. There's outliers, aren't there? We're not making just a blanket statement that nothing. It's not going to work in the street, because it does happen where you do see people pull off triangles and stuff. But
it's outlying. It's normally kids doing it.
Yes, and because from a fundamental point of view, there's no, it's hard to argue a point for being on the bottom. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
By your own choice.
And the majority of reasons that people join jiu-jitsu in the first place, they may want to get into MMA, they look at it for self-defense or fitness or a new hobby, etc. But it feels like a lot of gym jiu-jitsu just teaches people wrong, which is, and it's weird to talk about as well. Like, we love it when we see stories of people like using jiu-jitsu as self-defense, and like, kind of allows us to, say what we do works. But then when you hear stories of it not working, it's like, it's hard to the dissonance involved of going,
yeah, I agree.
Try to explain it away. Yeah, we tie ourselves in knots with this thing. Hopefully, I'm looking at this now. I'm hoping this recording has worked. Watch out, this whole thing, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. You watch out, this whole thing will be like failed, and we'll have to like redo it tomorrow. Well, if anyone has been listening to this, and it has worked, and we got all the way to the end, fantastic. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed this return of Reap of the Week. Like I said, there's a lot happening over the next couple of days, so next week's episode, which should come out on time, but obviously we've just been a bit busy with jet lag and flying over different countries, will be out on Tuesday. Monday for Patreon subscribers. Well, they always get it early as well. A little private viewing, as it were. Obviously we'll have the competition footage, and we'll talk about the competition and talk about training and how we're going to adjust after the competition. If we adjust anything, if it's going right, we'll keep to it. Or we'll humbly say we were wrong.
100%.
Vent of why it went wrong. It's everyone else's fault, not ours. We'll see if that's the case. Hopefully this is saved. Hopefully this is recorded. Otherwise it'd be a week without an episode, and that sucks. But thank you for staying up, dude. I know we started pretty late. And
no, it's fine. Thank you very much.
I don't know if I'm tired, awake, or jet-lagged.
I think you're all three, mate, combination.
I went to the gym earlier, and I was like, yeah, let's get hit this hard. And I was like, nope. I did 20 minutes of like hard like cardio. I thought I was dying.
You're tired of everything, combination of three.
I'm happy getting back into the gym after a bit of a layoff. And that's the other thing as well. I know we're almost calling an end to the episode. Psych. Since we started doing this style of grappling, I've had to get back in the gym. Like, it's forced my hand. Like, before I could kind of coast a little bit, and when it was technique versus technique, I was always going to win. But now people are like being more athletic and stronger with their jiu-jitsu. It's a stronger style, under more stress from everyone. Technique wasn't working anymore. I was getting moided, and I was like, crap, I'm going to have to up my goddamn cardio and up my training.
Yeah, and same. Well, I did the conditioning anyway, but I have had to feel where before I would probably coast and think, oh, I might skip a conditioning session here or there. Now it's like, nah, I need to get this in.
Dude, I'm even looking at air bikes again, going, hello, old enemy. I fucking hated using those things. I'm back doing sprint work. And like, I stopped like actively going to the gym a lot in like 2017, so it's been a good like 5 or 6 years since I've been like consistent. And Instagram and TikTok have taken off in that time. And back when I used to go to the gym, it was mostly, quiet, and I could do my thing, and people wouldn't look a bit sideways at me at sprinting and on a treadmill and throwing weights around when I was off it. Now it's like these people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, fuck off, kids. get back to your and you can't look up, and you just like feel bad, like you're just looking down doing your thing. And the gym culture's changed, man.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that regard because I've got the luxury of having a private gym, so I don't have to.
I'm having to use a pure gym.
Oh, mate, that's the last thing I want to do.
I'm having to do my sprint workout at like 5 a.m. most days.
Oh, you must get some looks, mate.
Luckily, I do it when it's empty. I walk in and there's like no one in there. I'm like, this is preferred. Just because, and I went today and I was like, I even thought, like, because I went to the gym around about 5, 6-ish. I thought that's peak time for douchebaggery. I'm not even going to bother with pure gym. I went to a leisure centre instead, just because I hoped to be quieter.
Yeah.
If you are one of those people who do use a gym at like that time, sorry for insulting you, but I can't deal with kids on weights, man. I know I must have been one at some point, but I'm old and bitter now. So yeah, it was world's changed. Anyway, we were calling an end to this just to see if it's actually bloody worked. Yeah. So anyone who's listened, thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow, Naki, and see everyone else next week.
See y'all soon.
See you, dude.
In a bit, man.